Rolling, man.
Hey, hey.
Rolling. It's good to see you, dude.
Good to see you too, buddy. Looking forward to you getting up here.
Man, I'm super, super ready. Can't get here fast enough. Although we've had really nice weather here. I don't know if you've heard, but the lows have been like 41, 42, 43 in the morning. So it's been,
You're kidding.
nah, it's been really beautiful out here.
What have your highs been?
Mid 60s.
Oh, heck.
This is perfect.
We've been today.
What's the weather?
And when the sun 70 here with the sun shining is warm. The sun's warm up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here you
Hello,
go.
Bass. Are you itching to pull the trigger? Heck yeah. I'm tired of looking at them.
So what are you going to throw first? What's the first rod, the first bait in your hand?
God, that's a great question.
Lines in. What do you got in your hand?
That is a great question. It'll be crowded Saturday with the opener. I'm going to have to throw the Ned rig just to start. I mean, I'm not going to try and fix something that's not broken until I figure out it's not working.
Get one in the boat first.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was thinking about it today. You know, I've been sitting there scouting for what are we going on 10 days now or whatever it is, and smallmouth. It's always an adjustment for me. Smallmouth bite different than our largemouth at home, and largemouth in general, I guess. And it always takes me a little bit to get used to the different bite. And I can't wait for that Saturday. And I'll probably laugh at myself when I miss the first couple of fish. But yeah, I can't wait.
Rich says gross. He says
what's gross?
The Ned rig. He says you need to be throwing a Kitech or a jerkbait, man.
No, I don't. It may not matter. It may not matter, Saturday. The weather's been so stable up here and so calm. The water is clear. My uncle does the Ceci disc reading, which is the water quality thing, clarity reading for. I don't know if it's for the town of Mille or the water district there. Anyway, he had 19 feet the other day on that.
Holy cow.
Disc reading. Yeah. So that's how clear it is. You can see fish. When I was scouting yesterday, I found a little spot, and then I always like to get up and look at it. You know, not just on electronics, but actually look at it. And I could see fish swimming in 10 to 12 feet of water yesterday.
Bill wants to know where you fishing.
Mille Lake, Minnesota, buddy. 2 hours north of the Twin Cities. I'm not sure where Bill's from, but.
So how does that work? Tom says, is it a shotgun start Saturday? Is it just
about unofficially? Yes. My buddy who I'm staying with, Jason, his mom and dad just came up. They're at dinner right now, but last year they're going to walleye fish Saturday, and they left the house at 5. And when you pull out of the driveway here and you look to the right, you can see the lake. They left at 5, and when they got to the main road, the trucks were already parked out on the highway last year.
Oh.
Of course, that was COVID and all that, but still. So it's going to be a zoo tomorrow, but it'll be a fun zoo. Everyone's chomping at the bit, and they make a big deal about the opener up here, and it's in the news. And so it's just a different vibe than what we're used to down south.
Yeah. Well, I want to say hi to Todd, and then Mike Marfell's out there shooting hoops with his kid, listening to the live stream. He says,
"Hey,
that's right, only in America." We got Jay Beth on there. What's up, Joe? Jay.
What's up, dude?
Like Joe and Bro. What's up, bro? Billy's in here. Got Phil in here. Yeah, Phil sent a pretty cool article from Wapapella, the tournament over the weekend, and I'll probably read it here in a little bit. It's kind of lengthy, but it's got a lot of good details in there.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear some of the local reports being disconnected from that now for starting to go on 2 weeks. I'm anxious to hear more about what's going on down home. And I was telling you earlier before we jumped on, I've heard a little bit about Egypt, but I'm Minnesota now, so it'll be interesting. I want to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah. What's up, Shane? I just sent a text to my buddy Jerry, and he fished a tournament at Egypt this weekend. They got second place. There's a bass club, it's a smaller club tournament. But he's out with his daughter, so he's not going to be able to jump on. But I may call him later and see if he just wants to do like a little telephone conference. I should have called him on the way home from work, but I didn't think of it until just a while ago. Well, so I fished Cedar. I was at Cedar.
Yeah, let's hear Cedar report.
Yeah, Cedar. The water temps were like 63. I was kind of surprised, and it's really clearing up. In the main lake area, you've got at least 4 foot visibility. It looks pretty good. I went back. Yeah, it looks really good. It's a nice, pretty green. I went back in clay, and it's about a foot visibility back there. It's pretty heavy stained, but the grass is looking pretty good. It's starting to lose some of that slime that we had really bad.
Well, that's
so
good.
you can start working. You can work a few things through it, and it's kind of funny. I did like a split day. Me and my wife went over there in the morning. We left the house about 8 o'clock after we dropped the kids off at school. We got over there, got on the water about 9:30 or so. And she was throwing just a baby brush hog on a spinning rod, 8-pound test with 1/4 ounce weight, green pumpkin blue. And she caught 7 fish. So cool. That was good. She caught a couple, like 17.5 inchers, pretty decent, solid fish.
Good fish.
Yeah. And I was throwing, I was fishing out deeper, just throwing a crankbait and catching. I caught some decent fish too. So you got some fish that are definitely, I think most of the fish are post spawn, but there's definitely some pre spawners, that are waiting to move up out there. I think there's going to be
this next full moon.
I really think so. I think there's definitely going to be some more that are moving up. And so, we fished for a while and then drove back home. And then I actually went back over there again because I was wanting to I kind of got in the groove on those deeper fish, and I was wanting to go out there and see if I could run a pattern, and ended up finding a couple spots that were holding some post spawn fish and pre spawn fish, and had a pretty good time. But, so I didn't fish up shallow a whole lot. And when I was up there, I didn't really see any beds. So I'm not 100% sure, what's going on up there shallow. I was trying to just kind of focus out deeper, but I did go like the week before, and it was one of those rainy, overcast days. It actually poured. The lake level went up like 2 inches while I was there, because I got some video of the dock there when I was putting in. Mm-hmm. And then I got some video I checked it out as I was leaving, and it had rose like 2 inches in about 5 hours or so. But that day I was fishing a little bit shallower, and I threw a S waver, a glide bait for a while, because I was wanting to get some bites on that. I'm going to start playing around with that a little more this year. And, I never got a bite on it. I never got a sniff. And I had to kind of back out and fish out in that 8 to 10 to 12 foot zone. Seems like where there's a lot of fish at, kind of basically the outside of the grass line. Seems to be a concentration of fish around the points and stuff over there right now. Mm-hmm. And, I picked up that swim jig. I didn't want to pick it up. But I finally just picked it up and started slow rolling it around that, a little bit deeper on that grass. And that thing's it just works right now. A white swim jig with a white menace. Seems like if you just put it in your hand and throw it. And I caught some chatterbait fish too. I caught some jackhammer fish.
Cool.
And then let's see, I went to Pinckneyville City Lake. I had a time over there, man. I had a good time. That lake's got them. There was a crappie. They were feeding on crappie over there. I figured that out after I was catching some fish on that white swim jig, catching some good fish, like some 4s, and had a 5 or 2 mixed in there. Just good quality, chunky pre-spawn fish.
Pre-spawn.
Yeah. A lot of them were pre-spawn. They were fat. And, I saw a guy going down the bank. He was crappie fishing. He was just flipping a a little jig on a float, and he was catching fish after fish after fish, and a lot of them were like 6 or 8 inch crappie. And so a little light bulb went off in my head. Okay, I'm throwing a white swim jig. He's catching crappie up there shallow. And then as I fished a little bit more, I caught a really solid fish. I look in his throat, and there's a tail of a crappie in his throat. And so, and I was getting those little ticks, you know, where you get a bite and nothing's there. Those crappie will hit that swim jig.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah, so they were feeding on crappie. Those crappie, I think, were up there spawning or trying to spawn or something, and those bass were definitely up there taking advantage of it. But that's a good quality lake, man. And that is a solid lake.
It's interesting to hear about still some pre-spawn fish. Of course, down the further south you go, the more that spawn seems to spread out. I know I listened to the Florida guys talk about how spread out the spawn can be. Here, they've got to make hay while the sun shines up here. It seems like.
Mm-hmm. It's like Tom caught a few fish. What's up, Josh? Got Joshua Harris on here. Bill wants to know, how's the fishing on Kincaid? I have not heard. I haven't been to Kincaid. It's been actually a couple weeks, and nobody sent me a report this time for Kincaid, so I'm not really sure. I know there's a couple tournaments going on over there Saturday and Sunday, so we'll have an idea next week what's going on over there.
And I obviously haven't been there. I'm in Minnesota, but I did notice. I looked at the results of the last couple Kincaid deals, and the weights went down. So I wonder if that means, you know, they're dealing with some post spawn over there. And you know, anytime in these tournaments this time of year, you'll notice the weights in a lot of these tournaments, they'll kind of compress, and like the winning, I'll just make up a weight, like at Egypt, 13 pounds will win, and everyone and their brother will have 10 pounds. Yeah. And it just really compresses. And that's what it looked. That's what the results looked like at Kincaid. So it's kind of an indication of. Yeah, I haven't been there, so you know who knows. But it's kind of an indication of kind of maybe what stage things are kind of gravitating towards over there. And it's that time of year. I mean, heck, it's May. So.
Yeah. Shout out to Winning Edge Fishing. He is the guy. Rob has been doing the little ads that pop up on Facebook supporting this live stream and also the Monday night live stream. So he does a
very professional,
very professional, good, clean stuff. And I really, really appreciate that, man.
Yep. I do too. Well, I do too.
There on Kincaid, there's a little buzzbait bite that'll go on this time of the year if you can get on it. There's like a couple week window right there, and it's right now. It's going to happen, and I mean, when it happens, it's ridiculous. And if you can get over there, what's going on? It's golden.
Yeah, and I want to say something about the buzzbait. You know, Swindle. If everyone was watching the elites this last go around. You know, Swindle caught a lot of his fish on a buzzbait that he kind of tinkers with, and he did a live stream with Bass Talk Live yesterday evening, and he goes into detail on his buzzbait and how he modifies it, and how from everything. I mean, he gave up everything on his buzzbait. It was very, very informative. And he said that, you know, they're going to Guntersville next. And he says he thinks that because of the cool weather you guys are experiencing down there in general, he thinks there's going to be a good topwater bite yet down there at Guntersville on that buzzbait. So I wouldn't be afraid to throw that at any of, you know, Kincaid or wherever down there.
I just got into that live stream like the last 10 minutes of my workday. And he was talking about, you know, he basically takes a War Eagle buzzbait and puts a different blade on there. And he was talking about the diameter of the buzzbait, how you want a buzzbait with a thicker wire because it's got more surface area and it creates more chirp. And, you know, I was I jumped on a live stream last night with Rich from Hellabass just for a few minutes, and I was telling him I was watching the Bass University little blurb that was on YouTube, just a little short clip with Gerald Swindle talking about buzzbaits and talking about how people want to, they want to bend the blade so it runs sideways up against the dock one way or another. And he said, you don't need to do that. You got a 7.5 foot rod or 7'2" rod. He said, all you do is make that cast, and you can drive that train wherever you want by just putting your rod out to the side. He said, you can move that buzzbait 2 or 3 feet one way or the other, just depending on what you want to do. So, I thought that, that totally makes sense. You don't have to have like 3 different buzzbaits. You just move your rod. And he was talking about how when he's retrieving that buzzbait, he's keeping it up high because it allows him the freedom to make any kind of adjustments to set the hook or to steer it around, cover, work it around little grass points and things like that versus having down lower. So then he's a master at that buzzbait.
Yeah, he talked about some of that last night on that thing on Bass Talk Live, and I highly recommend anyone who likes to throw a buzzbait to listen to what Gerald Swindle had to say about the buzzbait. He knows what he's doing there, that's for sure.
What's up,
Watching
dude?
from Japan.
Live from Japan.
Welcome,
man.
Welcome.
We chatted a few times on the Facebooks. Good dude. Eric's in here. What's up, Eric?
Hey.
See, we got it. Oh, let me read this. Let me read this report that Phil sent me, and it's from, I believe it was English Choice. I've got it up here on Facebook. So this is just a Wapapella report. I'll kind of touch on it real quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me pull it up here. So this was 5/8, so May 8th. Let me scroll down through. There were 43 boats. The lake level was 366.6. Air temps 55. Water temps in mid 60s. This is reported by Ron Neiswanger. Get down.
That's Eric's dad, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Good hook, both of them. Excellent
hook. Went out of Shiona Landing. Cloudy skies to start the day. Turned to a steady shower late in the morning and lasted most of the day. The lake level was already 6 feet over summer pool from heavy rains earlier in the week. The consensus of the field was that the bass spawn was coming to an end and the bigger fish had already moved out deeper. That fact combined with much more water made fishing a little tough and the big bite a lot tougher to come by. Yeah. Tom and Colton Jennings won the day with 5 fish limit weighing 18.61 pounds. They said they stayed upriver all day and fished creeks off the river. We fished flooded bushes with slow moving baits all day and the bite really slowed down after 9 in the morning. I don't know if the cold front moving through had them messed up or what it was, but we only had 1 keeper after 9. And then second place was Randy Jackson and Scott Miller. And he said they stayed on the dam end of the lake and just fished main lake flooded bushes. We were throwing soft plastics and creature baits. And the third place team was Jerry Carpenter and Jeff Slinkard. He said they stayed around the Shiona Landing area. We were pitching soft plastic baits and flooded bushes. So sounds like, flipping bushes, soft plastics in the bushes and stuff. And you got some guys that did good up the river, some guys that did good all the way down by Redmond, down by the dam. But, flipping in that high water, that's the way to go this time of year. That water gets up in those bushes around the spawn and those fish are, they're typically it doesn't take them long to get up in that stuff.
Wow.
It said,
especially if it hadn't been that hot down there.
Right. The big bass of the event was 7.05 pounds and was fooled by a football jig pitched into flooded brush.
Wow.
So good work, guys. Appreciate Phil for sending that. And Ron did a really good, Neiswanger did a really good job of breaking this down. There's a bunch more, text in there, but that's the gist of it. So I need to get back over to Wapapella. I haven't been over there in a while. So one more report is I went over to Goldeneye over there at Pyramid State Park and had a phenomenal day. I don't know I can't remember if I talked about this last week or not, but the chug bug You know, that chug bug is one of those baits that's kind of overlooked. And I pulled that sucker out and it was going on. We had a blast with that thing. Or I had a blast with that thing. Caught a lot of fish. It was just a good topwater day. You know, it's one of those few days where you just pick that up and you don't pick anything else up. You're like, that's the deal, you know.
Those are fun days when you don't have to put the topwater down.
The fish tell you right off the bat,
yeah,
what they want.
Yeah.
And you know, when it's a topwater, why would you put it down?
Yeah.
Let me scroll.
That's a good bait up here too.
Is it?
Smallmouth will eat that chug bug big time. Yeah.
Well, I'll have one. I'll have several in my box. I went to Walmart and bought several of them.
I've got a couple in the boat too. That's just fun.
Speaking of chug bug, there's my buddy Dave. He's the guy that got me on that chug bug. He's probably like, shut up about that thing. Quit talking about it. Let me scroll down real quick. And then I see Jim. And Jim is in the queue down there. We'll get him on here in just about a minute. Let's see. We got Fishing Junkie on here. What's up? Yeah, man. Listen to Hella Bass. This guy's a pro. He says, hit the like button, people. Show me some love. Show me and Ron some love. Larry says, Swindle didn't use a skirt either. He's throwing that little Z-crawl on there.
Yeah, just a little white Z-crawl. It's a kind of a downsized profile.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the way he's got it dialed in. It looks good in the water, and he knows when to pick it up. And it's interesting. He throws it on 18-pound not monofilament, 18-pound fluorocarbon on a not on a pool cue rod, just a 7.3 medium heavy, I think he said. Yeah, and he's got it dialed in. He's got a feel for that bait. Well,
and he said when he mentioned fluorocarbon, he was saying people were like, "Why are you throwing the fluorocarbon?" He said, "My line doesn't really touch the top of the water because he's holding his rod up so high, so he doesn't have to worry about it pulling the bait down. And if you're moving something, you know, it's not that big a deal. I've thrown, you know, those kind of baits on fluorocarbon just because I didn't have a different rod. You know, I didn't have any mono or braid, and he said don't throw braid on a buzzbait. He was definitely against braid on a buzzbait. He thought that you'd pull the bait away from the fish too much that way. Yeah, and also not a high speed reel. I think he's throwing a 6.3 or 6.8 to 1 or 6 something to 1. He advised against using a higher speed retrieve than that. Hey, shout out to Joshua Harris, man. Good work. That is awesome. Good stuff. Hey. That's 28. That's a 20-inch average. Yeah, that's pretty stout. Yeah. Very solid. Mike says he's got me some OG chug bugs pre-Rapala. Yeah, Mike, I think I'd probably take a couple. I know somebody else on here that would want some too. I was throwing that baby bass color. I don't know. You know, I don't know how much it matters sometimes. I'm sure there are days, but I don't think it would have mattered too much that day. They were just dialed on it. Yeah, and I went to Super Lake too over there at Pyramid State Park. Yeah. And the same thing was going on. They were looking up. You know, I was just kind of fishing. You know, that lakes, those are strip mine lakes. So they've got where they've dredged, they've got that drop off. They've got all kinds of little humps and just, you know, underwater points and things like that. But those fish were just sitting up there in that flat. You know, off that first drop would come up, and then that first drop's about, on a lot of those lakes, it seems like it's about, I don't know if you could find like that 8-foot first drop, and then it had a nice flat, you know, not too long of a flat, but just a place where they could kind of pull up and spawn. That was the deal. If it had a little bit of wind blowing in there, and you know, you could kind of tell where you're going to get a bite. You know, and another key thing was fishing more like isolated clumps of grass. Instead, if you had a grass line that was real solid, say it ran pretty thick for 50 yards, you probably weren't going to get a bite. But on the end of that 50-yard stretch, as it started breaking up and you'd see another clump that was kind of sitting there by itself, that's where you're going to get bit almost every time. So I got to where I wasn't even fishing that longer stretch of grass. When I got to that, I put the trolling motor on high, or if it was too long, I just fired up the big motor and just idled past it. and shut down and started fishing that kind of scattered stuff, because it was obvious what was going on. They were sitting underneath that stuff, or around it in the open water. And you were just kind of wasting your time if you're fishing that long stretch of solid grass. So you're thinking up there in Mille that the fish you're seeing them up there. Have you seen them actually locked on beds yet, or are they just
No.
looking around?
No, but it's progressing quickly. Weather's super stable. Weather's warm. Water temperature is probably not far off what you guys have. We've kind of caught up. I've been seeing Main Lake with a chop. If it's calm, you know how the surface will really warm up. But with a chop, Main Lake in the mid to upper 50s, where I've been, and then Mille doesn't have like creek arms like what you think of, but there are some bays that tend to warm up. And I've seen water, pushing 60 degrees. And the fish are in places where, they're not going to have to really go far to lock up on a bed. They're cruising those areas right now. Lake like this, so obviously there's, you'll have a wave, and then you'll have, another batch come in behind them, so on and so forth. And as clear as the water is, I think you're going to see maybe a few more deeper spawning fish this year. With as clear as the water is, I've seen beds in old beds in 10 to 12 feet of water, just, standing up looking down at them. So the biologist here that I talk to fairly often, he tells me that when they dive, they see fish spawning down to about 15 feet here. Mm-hmm. And then after 15 feet, it kind of dies off, according to the biologist. That sounds about right. And this year it was going to be with clear water. So it's going to be a heck of an opener Saturday. I can't wait. I burnt a full tank. My boat holds 57 gallons of gas, and I burnt a tank of gas scanning, looking for boulders and rock sand transition, and just trolling motoring through areas where the fish are cruising around. And you get kind of jacked up when you see 30 or 40 smallmouth swimming around your boat. And that's happening a lot in a lot of places of the lake. What'll be interesting to see is, what lures and how they react to lures on Saturday, because it's peace and quiet out here right now, but on Saturday it's going to be, literally flipping a switch, and there's going to be boats everywhere. So that'll be interesting to see.
But cool, man. I'm super, super excited to get in on some of that. It won't be long. It's coming up fast.
It's it. Mille, to the guys listening on Mille, it's hard to explain, but if you're a baseball fan, you can probably relate to you. If you're a baseball fan, you want to go sit at Wrigley Field one time, or you want to go to Fenway Park, or, so on and so forth. If you're a football fan, you want to go to Lambeau. Well, if you're a fishing fan, you want to go to Mille. And it's, there's a vibe that you literally feel around the lake. And by that, I mean, all around the lake, people have grown up, either making a living off of the lake one way or another, through tourism or as a fishing guide or running launch boats. We have launch boats here that are no different than launch boats you see on the Great Lakes or on the ocean, that take 30, 40, 50 people out at a time fishing. The entire community revolves around the lake, and it's cool to be plugged into it. It's really cool.
Well, that sounds really cool. We had Jim in here for a second. He's still there. As soon as I see his face, we're gonna jump in there because he's working. think he's been doing inventory all day.
Oh,
if
yeah.
if you guys don't know, Jim Dill is a guide at Lake of the Ozarks, and he is the owner of Croco Gator Bait Company, lure company, bait company. So he's been in that neck of the woods down there for quite a while, and I see his beautiful face. So we're gonna go ahead and pull him in here.
Hey,
Here we go. What's going on, man?
All right. Hey, how you doing, man?
We are doing
nice
good.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah.
We were talking
I've seen
smallmouth.
quite a few of your videos, so you do a good job.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you bet.
that. I've watched a few of your fishing reports too. So good
Yeah.
work.
I got you.
So
Yep.
how's business down there? You getting your inventory stock back up, or?
Oh man, I tell you, I just went through and printed out all the orders and just kind of scratched my head wondering how I'm gonna get them all filled, but it's a good thing. We're getting stocked back up on a lot of items. Some things, the components we're kind of lacking, for the most part, we're pretty good. We're kind of going through a little deal right now with skirts. So as soon as we get that ironed up, we're going to be in pretty good shape, I believe.
Yeah, man, it's been that kind of thing. It seems like everything is there's some shortage, and once it gets going, then boom, you run into another
Right.
wall.
You're exactly right. You kind of get over one hurdle and you take care of a fire somewhere, and then another one kind of pops up, and you're just kind of chasing. I mean, it just about every aspect of it. There's been an issue somewhere along the line, or just something we've had to take care of here, last 6 months anyways. But, we're just doing everything we can, like all the companies.
Yeah.
As far as the guide, as far as the lake and the guiding, though, it's real busy already, and looks like a really productive, really good year in store for us.
Good deal.
Have you? So what's going on at Lake of the Ozarks right now? Are they all done spawning? Or are you still moving up? Or
no, not at all. I would say probably, man, I would go as far as saying 40% of them have probably spawned, and that may be pushing it. I would say the majority of them, they're ready, but a lot of pre-spawn fish still being caught. Very few post-spawn.
Are they waiting on this full moon, you think, that's coming up?
Well, I guess honestly, I think they're just kind of waiting on the lake to settle in to, we've been fluctuating, normally Ozarks doesn't fluctuate very much, unless we have a major downpour or something like that, but this last month, it's been fluctuating a lot, and they've been really pulling a lot of current. Like this time of year, normally, they might pull 5,000 to 8,000 cubic foot, and they've been running 35,000, 40,000. That's a lot of current, and you got a little bit few cold fronts coming in and out, but I really think they're just kind of waiting for the lake to just settle and be consistent in one way or another, and it's kind of led to kind of what's going on as far as most of these fish are hanging on main lake or just inside. Not a lot of them really going way back, or back where that water cools down real quick with a cold front, or if they drop the water a foot, it pulls a lot of water out from around them. So I think that's just kind of keeping a lot of them out, just waiting, and then all of a sudden they're all going to go in and let loose at the same time, I believe.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. That's it. That delayed spawn seems to be going on a lot of places. Yeah. The last elite tournament, they were talking about still catching some pre-spawn fish.
Yeah. What lake was that?
Where were they at, Gabe?
That was at Neely Henry.
Yeah, Coosa River. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coosa River,
Alabama.
I got you. Yeah, which they should be done, you'd think, or close to it.
Yeah, normally I think they would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, it's fishing's just really good right now. A lot of fish being caught. It's just been exceptionally good here last couple of weeks. Anyways, a lot of keepers, the 3-pounders. Most of them are those males. But there's some big females showing up too.
Okay.
Good deal, guys out there in YouTube land. If you've got any questions for Jim, get him on here. He's going to be on here for just a few more minutes. So if people are coming down to Lake of the Ozarks right now, what are some of the baits that they need to have tied on?
Well, a shaky head right now down here, you really can't beat it. Just a 5/16. We're throwing a Croco Gator, shaky pro head, a 5/16 or a 1/4 ounce, and putting some sort of like that Hawgz finesse worm on it, or maybe a Zoom mag finesse worm on it, something like that. And green pumpkin, you can't hardly go wrong. And then there's been a decent topwater bite firing up, and that's going to get real good here in the next couple weeks. Something usually a spook, a chug bug will really get them to fire. Or in some days, if they're really aggressive and they're roaming, you can throw like one of our big Buzzbaits, and it's been producing some good fish too.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing. It doesn't matter where you go this time of year. It's like this exact same baits are the ones that trigger all the bites. Kind of like the bass are bass, and they do the same thing everywhere. It kind of seems like.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was actually noticing the same thing, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you crappie fish down there too?
Oh yeah, we've our crappie now. They're getting, most of them are spawned out here that we've been catching this week. But they've been really good too. It's been you can go out and just catch a ton of crappie. Just a lot of your better ones are kind of getting a little scarce. They'll show back up here in a week or so as they school up, and then we'll start kind of getting off the bank, and we'll just start kind of trolling for them. Trolling crankbaits is real productive down here at the lake.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah. So I'm curious about Croco Gator Bait Company.
Uh-huh.
How did that come about? Is that something you started in your garage, or how did that?
No, this company's been a guy named Don Carroll. He started it back in the early '80s, and he kept it fairly local. He come up with a lot of the baits, and Don had it and kind of built it up, a little bit, and then another guy, bought it, and he had it for a couple, 3-4 years, I guess, and then we actually bought it in 2010. So once we bought it in 2010, we've really changed a lot of the packaging. We've really gotten into some bigger stores and really spread out, across the country. So it's really taken off, and just kind of getting just really rolling now. So that's kind of the history of it. But they originally started like the zapper jigs and the head knocker buzzbait, and some of the shaky heads, and of course we've added different size shaky heads, with the feedback from anglers, like our 5/8. We call it, the 5/8 HD shaky head. It's got a real big wide gap hook in it. A lot of guys using it. And then we've added a line of plastics, our swamp bug. We got 2 sizes of swamp bug, and then we got a little jig trailer called ring crawl. We got a muskrat. It's kind of like similar to a beaver, and then a few other specialty baits, kind of just unique to Croco Gator, like our Gator Lock. I know a lot of guys, Fitzpatrick name is really well known around the Ozarks and really everywhere, but Wayne come up with a little gadget that kind of hooks through your plastics, like a swamp bug or beavers or D-bomb, some of your soft plastics, and it really gets a good bite into those plastics, and it hangs on to them. It's got a big flipping hook and weed guard, so just things like that. Of course, we've got the football jigs, a line of tubes, pretty much you name it. The only thing we really don't have is like hard baits, any sort of crankbaits, topwater baits, chug bugs, stuff like that.
Okay, good. A couple guys want to say hi. Eric Darosa says, "What's up, Jim? How you been, buddy?" Jay Beth says hi.
Yeah.
He said if I can catch a limit of crappie like I did last week, anyone can. And then Mark wants to know what's the status of the shad spawn? Is it going on right now?
It is. We've got some days are really right up on the bank running. I would say in the next couple weeks it'll be full blown. But we've definitely seen a lot of the shad spawn action going on. It's kind of like I was kind of listening in on some your conversation before. There's a lot of man, they're really spread out, the spawn, whether it be the crappie, the bass, even the shad. It's just a wide. There's going to be a long period of spawn this year. I'm going to say we're going to be spawning well into June. They'll be spawning fish. It won't be the majority of them, but there'll be some late ones spawning. Way into June.
Huh.
Yeah, I remember last year I was fishing a little tournament over on one of the smaller bodies of water over in Southern Illinois, and in July we caught fish that still had scales were kind of healing up a little bit.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Have you seen any bluegill on the bed yet?
No, I haven't seen any bluegill. They're usually later. We've got a lot of those. We call them like goggle eye bluegill down here, and they'll get up in them bluff boulders and rocks. But as far as a really good bluegill spawn, that usually is a little later.
Okay.
Down here, anyways.
Okay.
Once that water heats up a little more.
Mark says the best buzzbait on the market is the Croco Gator head knocker. Man, that buzzbait has been, it's known throughout the country, so that's an excellent product.
Yeah, that is a great bait.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment, Mark. And we've done some things with the buzzbait. We've got a new one out. It's called the X-Bite, and it's got two wire keepers that basically it comes without a skirt, and it's made for frogs and swim baits like the menace or the horny toad, whatever. It holds on to that frog really well, and has a little heavier wire. Because a lot of guys want to skip it under these cables and skip it under trees or just skip it across the surface. And it's been a pretty good addition to our buzzbaits here the last couple of years. So we've added. There's 4 different sizes. There's I heard one of you guys was talking about that real small buzzbait. Somewhere you were throwing it, probably in Illinois. We've got a little 1/4 ounce, and man, we sell a ton of them, like in Kentucky, down south where there's a lot of grass, Wichita, some of these lakes, and they're really buy them little bitty buzzbaits up. And I guess they're putting plastics on it as far as what the feedback I get.
Yeah, I know any river like a Galconda Smithland Pool over here, those small spinnerbaits and small buzzbaits are killer.
Really, is that mainly for smallmouth or everything?
No, that's for everything.
Really?
Yeah, everything.
It just seems like in a lot of these rivers, the dirtier water, the bait fish are a little bit smaller, and they just like a little bit smaller profile, just a little bit.
I got you. Fancy. Yeah, we've got a little 3/8 that we throw. Actually, we throw it a lot like on guide trips and things for numbers, and it'll really produce a lot of fish. It'll catch a few big ones, but it's mainly like Kentucky's down here. We have a lot of Kentuckys and some of your 14 to 16-inch largemouth. It'll catch a lot of them. Just that, like you said, you'll catch a few fish and they're spitting up those inch and a half shad. And them that little buzzbait really comes into play then.
Yep.
Eric says he remembers going in Don Carroll's basement.
Yeah.
Tooling through the tubes that he had. So is he from the Festus area originally?
He was originally from like Imperial, Missouri, and that's where his house was, and he started it all, and that's pretty much where he kept it until he ended up selling it.
So what's your favorite colored jigs down there on Lake of the Ozarks? And
man, we've got like 18 different colors, and honestly, I use like 3 of them. I've got one. It's called Ozark Crawl. When we named it, it was after the Ozarks, and it's just a natural. It's a brown, a black, and a green. It's just as natural you can get. Them crawfish. We got another one. It's called a brown purple scale. It's mainly brown, but it's kind of got some several strands of purpley scaly strands in it. That's real good. When the water's dirtier, or we use it a lot when we're swimming jigs in the fall, just that purple, you know. And then of course, you know, your black and blues, the Alabama crawls, green pumpkin with a little orange in it, Okeechobee, any of those, you can throw them pretty much any time and catch fish on them here.
Okay. So nothing too crazy.
No.
It's pretty standard stuff.
No, we always get, you know, like, you know, other tackle shops, or we'll get interest in a new tackle shop, and I'll send them some samples of jigs or something. And I always ask them, you know, what colors you guys throw there, and it's always the same, green pumpkin and something, you know. Of course, you got a black and blue, you know, and peanut butter and jelly, or they'll say just send us green pumpkin and something, and it's the same everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
Bass or bass.
Yeah,
Bass is a bass. That's right.
you know, and you know, some of our jig colors, we've got some, you know, different names, and then we're pretty simple. We've got one we laugh. It's green, brown, and orange. You know, that's crazy on the name, you know, but it pretty much explains it. You know?
If somebody asks you
like
what color
that.
that is, you slap them. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So, what color is that? Well, you know, that's it. You know, but we've got magic crawl, you know, different things like that. But you know, some of them just never got a name stuck to it, and something simple, you know, got on it. So, you know.
Yeah, T. Harris says he's a big fan of the Croco Gator shaky head, and he just got down to Lake of the Ozarks and will be fishing through Sunday. So good luck, T. Harris.
He's going to have a good time this week. I'll be out I'll be out tomorrow. I actually work EMS 2 days a week, so I'm scheduled Saturday, Sunday. But next week I'm full with trips, and boy, there's going to be some really good fishing here this next few weeks. You take a shaky head and you know, one of those worms, and start on a main lake point and go in 50 yards and go to the next one. You're gonna catch plenty of fish.
Hmm.
Yep. Another
good.
thing down here, they've been kind of relating to like ledgy rock more so than gravelly stuff. You know, more just ledgy, almost like, you know, what you kind of fish at some like Table Rock, how they spawn down there. They're kind of doing the same thing up here this year.
Yeah, and that's so important on those rock lakes, is the different kinds of rock that they get on throughout different times of the year. You know,
Right.
You can actually just, if you know the lake good enough, once you figure out what kind of rock they're on, you can probably run around and just stay with that kind of rock. Is that a pattern? I mean, is they get that specific at times?
Absolutely. I mean, it's and the Ozarks is a really good pattern lake. Once you figure out exactly what they're on, you can run this entire lake and duplicate it, you know, according to rock or structure or whatever, and do that anywhere. Really, it's not really a spot lake as far as I'm concerned. It's more of a good pattern lake.
Mm-hmm. And Mark reminds us that Jim isn't the only guy in the family. Your wife Denise is a heck of a fisher person as well. And you guys did really good in a tournament not too long ago.
Yeah, we had a really good spring this year. Things just kind of set up just right, you know, and we had about a 3-week period there. We done real well in several tournaments. Won the Bass World Classic, and that got Denise a new 518 Ranger. We won it. So
nice.
Yeah, she's
Congrats.
she's retiring in about a week here, so she'll be guiding full time, and that boat probably won't be in till about July, I think. She's running a 518 right now, an older one, but you know, she's looking forward to being retired and guiding a lot more.
That's great. That is really cool. So that's there's not a lot of, I wouldn't think there's a lot of husband and wife teams out there on the bass tours. So that's pretty unique. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, you see, you know, a few of them now and then, and you know, that's a neat deal. We really enjoy it because you know, she's really, really competitive person, and you know, she's out there probably more than I am, to be honest. You know, she's pretty hardcore. She'll get out there and figure it out, and you know, a lot of times we'll run what she figures out. If I'm busy doing something else, I'm not out there pre-fishing or running trips or whatever. You know, so you know, it's great because like any team, any fishing team, you've got to both be out there working and figuring things out and doing stuff that you both can you know, build on. You know, all these teams, the teams everywhere right now, they're all so good. You really gotta be on top of the game, or we all know what happens.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
it's that lake is, it's amazing the quality of fish and how that lake just keeps withstanding the pressure. It puts out 3 and 4 pounders consistently.
Right. And the tournaments that are here yearly, I mean, every weekend we've got, I mean, there's a lot of tournaments, a lot of big tournaments, and there's tournaments here Monday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, they just don't get a break.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, it amazes me too that it keeps pumping out fish, and it's a good, healthy fishery, that's for sure.
Yeah. So how's the spotted bass population in the lake right now?
I'd say it's good. We've had a lot of bigger Kentuckys showing up just this last couple years. The size has really went, where we caught a lot of smaller ones before. Now it's nothing to catch one of them 2 3/4 to 3 1/4 pound spot. I caught one in I think it was Anglers in Action just a couple of weeks ago. That thing was right at 4 pounds, just over 4 pounds.
Wow.
And I mean, it was a monster, just a healthy big old Kentucky, So I don't know, I would honestly, the Kentucky's probably my favorite fish here. Just they're so aggressive, they'll chase a topwater all the way back to the boat. And they make for a lot of good trips. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay Beffa Fishing says we need to have a Croco Gator customer appreciation tournament.
Yeah, that sounds good, Jay. I'm gonna put Jay in charge of that, and let Jay.
There you go, Jay.
Together,
Yeah. And then Tom says that 518 was a heck of a retirement gift for your wife.
Yeah, it kind of got me out of what I was going to get her, and we just redid her other boat. We just put all new 10-inch Garmin's on it, live scope. We put a new motor on it last year, and all. And then we get this lucky enough and won this one, so we're going to do it all again on the new one. But yep, that was a neat deal.
So are you getting used to that forward-facing sonar, the live scope? Have you used it much?
Oh yeah, I've had it. I don't know. I've had it about pretty much ever since it come out. But the one thing I'll say about the live scope or forward-facing is you're constantly learning from it, and not only like just finding fish. You can see what the contour is doing below the surface. You can kind of see how fish are reacting to a certain bait, or maybe the speed you're retrieving, or a color or something. It really teaches you a lot of what's going on under the surface as much as anything.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to having I'm be heading up to Ron. Ron's the other gentleman that's on here, and we're heading up to. He's in Mille, and I'm going to get a chance to head up there in a couple of weeks. And he just got the Lowrance, forward facing sonar.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna have about 5 days to see how all that stuff works. I'm really excited about that.
I tell you that, and I just got it, so I'm learning.
Gotcha.
So I've got the curve in front of me. What I've been doing here with it is we can't fish. Our opener is Saturday, the 15th. So I've been on the water for about 10 days doing nothing but scanning and scouting. But one thing I've learned is I can take that forward facing sonar. I can put my poles down, like outside of a brake line. We have a lot here. The key is the rock sand transition.
Right.
And so I can put my poles down, and then I can take that trolling motor with poles down and turn it, and I can see if there's fish there.
Yeah.
And then, and then I can go to another area and do the same thing. And, I'm still tinkering on what the best range is. And
yeah,
the smallmouth are a little different. A lot of times they're bottom oriented, so you don't get to see them quite as well. But I'll tell you what's really cool is when about a 50-inch muskie swims in front of it.
Yeah.
That's a hoot. You see that for sure.
For sure. Kind of down here, we'll see a lot of them we'll see them big gar and they'll spoonbill. They'll swim by, and it's like, well, you know what that is, because you can really see the outline of it.
Yeah, it
for
looks
sure.
like Ellie the Loch Ness monster going by, and you can see the fins moving, and off they go.
Big shadow, casting, back behind it, and it's definitely a neat tool. That's for sure.
So I'm enjoying. I'm looking forward to that this summer, especially when the fish get out a little deeper. I can use it. How far out? How far out do you typically set your range at?
I usually, what I found best is setting my range at about 70 foot in front of me. And also my gain right around 68 to 72, and then once you find what you're looking for, or kind of you find something that's interesting, then you can, scoot closer to it, and then, bring your range in, which is kind of like zooming it. And it's going to show things up a lot better. I like if you're looking at drop-offs or points or even bluffs, you can get 30 foot off a bluff and point right at it and extend your your forward view about 5 foot further than what that bluff is, or 5 foot further than what you're looking for. And the same with your depth, and that'll give you a full picture on your live scope, instead of like maybe taking up half your screen with bottom fill or the bank. I know that's kind of what I've ended up kind of settling in. I usually run it on 70, both, the forward and my gain,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've been fiddling with that, and it's an enjoyable learning experience. Because the nice thing about it is it's kind of plug and play, as far as, if a fish swims by, you're going to see it.
Right.
If you've got it set up at all correct. And so then it's just kind of fine tuning it for whatever the task at hand is. So it's kind of neat.
It's really good for crappie. I mean, you see the brush pile and the crappie, and you watch your crappie jig go down, and you'll see them come up and grab it. It's really neat when you do get it dialed in just right, and you're seeing what's going on down there for sure.
And I imagine your clients. There's probably some good time in the boat there where you can have a client come up and say, "Hey, watch this."
Yeah. Oh, it has definitely added to the entertainment of the of the trips. You like, come on up here and get a view and a real picture of what we're really doing here. And when you can watch what the fish are swimming around the brush and how they react, and it's a lot of times you're not even watching your rod. You're watching the screen, because it's right on a live, there may be a half a second behind, but it's pretty good. You see one fly out and grab that bait, and you feel them at the same time.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. So.
Yeah, it is definitely fun, but.
So I'll ask you one more question, and we'll let you go. I know you're busy, and really appreciate your time, but when you're with that live scope and you're dropping down on crappie, do you find times when they just won't respond to something? And then if you do, what kind of changes do you make? What kind of adjustments will you make?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, it's taught me a lot about crappie. Like if you're, let's just say you're vertically fishing over top of a brush pile, and you drop a jig down there and just let it sit there. They may not mess with it. But if you start moving it, that's when they react to it. Same thing if you are swimming a crappie jig by a brush pile or piece of structure. The speed really, really changes how they react. You can creep it by them, and they just won't act. But if you're swimming it fast, man, they'll really come after it. It's really probably the speed is the biggest thing I've see on how you're retrieving it, is how they react. And same with bass. Swim baits and things like that, on your speed of retrieve is what seems to make the big difference sometimes.
Okay, so if they want that thing faster, you're just going to put a heavier head on there so you can keep it hanging.
Yeah, put a heavier head or drop it past your target, and then kind of start reeling it a little faster, so when it gets up to the target, it's right there in their face. You know.
Wow. What an invaluable learning tool.
Oh,
you know,
it's incredible. It really is.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let you go, Jim. I really appreciate you coming on here. If anybody wants to get a hold of you to book a guide trip, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, first, I appreciate you guys having me on here. I enjoyed it. Yeah, you can get a hold of either one, Denise or I. Just give us a phone call, 573-204-9005. You can look us up on Facebook, look us up on James Dill Guide Service, Croco Gator Bait. There's going to be contact information on any of those resources.
Okay. Good
Right,
deal.
appreciate it.
I'll be down there. I'm fishing the BFL in the fall, so I will try to make it a point to stop by and say hi to you. And
all right, that'd be great. Give me a yell if I'm open or something. Maybe we'll jump in a boat and go out and do a little pre-fishing.
Yeah, and then I'm looking forward to that customer appreciation Croco Gator tournament that you and Jay Beff are going to be setting up.
That Jay Beff is going to put on.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jay here and see what he's got. Jay, knowing Jay, he'll probably put up 10 grand, right off the bat, to pay back.
And free donuts too.
Yeah, free donuts. Yeah. So,
all right, man. We'll talk to you later. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Good year, buddy.
See you.
All
right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah, that Croco Gator, he makes some really good quality products.
Got a few in the box myself.
Yeah, I mean that Buzzbaits, that's a nationwide deal. It's been very popular forever, and he's got some of those little niche things like the little ring crawls and that swamp bug, that little swamp bug. I bought a pack of those. I don't know if have you ever seen the swamp bug?
No, I have not.
When you get off of here, go onto their website and check it out.
Okay.
It's a little creature bait thing. It's got a big like curly tail on it. It's a strange looking bait, but man, I hear lots of good things about it. And I picked up a pack last time I was down at Lake of the Ozarks, and I'm definitely going to be throwing it around. If I can take my speed crawl off of my jig as a trailer and put that thing on there, I'm sure I will enjoy it. So
I see Jay mentioned that he really likes their shaky head too.
Yeah, I've heard Jay has a lot of confidence in the Croco Gator shaky head.
Yeah.
The jigs are, anybody that's fished Lake of the Ozarks has most likely thrown a Croco Gator jig. So it was good for Jim to get on there. It was good to hang out with him. Heard his name 1,000 times, just never met him. So I hope to stop in there and actually meet him in person. And it sounds like his wife's going to be doing a lot of guiding here before too long.
That's kind of cool. I don't think when that came up, I can't think of another instance where a husband wife that I know of and they were guiding together.
It's pretty cool. That's a special thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Definitely. You can really hash out your details of your tournament plan, at night before the tournament.
Yeah.
You're living with your team partner.
Yeah.
Mark says the swamp bug works great in colder water. I've got some, Mark, and I'm going to be playing around with them this year for sure. Let's see who else we got on here. We'll hit a couple of these questions real quick. I'm sorry, Mark. I just saw that question. I missed that. So he had a question about the spawn. So what's your take on that with the lake? If the lake is rising rapidly since last Friday, do you think the bass will move back into the backs of the spawn?
Just listening. It's hard to sit here from 800 miles away and say what, but if the spawn is delayed there the way he was talking about, and I'm sure it is, if that's what he said, and they've been waiting for the water to come up, if it's coming up, then, it's May. So, and we have a full moon in the 26th, I think. So we got a full moon in, not too long from now, 2 weeks. They're going to have to do it sooner rather than later. So, I don't know how far they'll travel. They may just spawn wherever they're at, but if they're going to move, if the waters come up, now would be the time, I would think.
I seen a question here, and I saw this earlier, right before Jim got on here. So Frank's wondering. He says, "Good evening. I live in Florida, and I'm looking to become a co-angler for the first time in the BFLs. or any kind of organization. So Frank, here's my recommendation. If you haven't joined a bass club in your area, that would be my first suggestion. Join a, if you're new to tournament fishing, get in a bass club. That way you can kind of get a feel. It's a lower pressure situation. You'll meet some good people, and it's a great way to learn, the lakes in your area. And depending on how far your club travels, you may, some clubs travel 4 or 5 hours away, but if you've done that and then getting into the BFLs, they're a great way to, once again, learn some lakes and fish with different people. Typically you get in a division that's fairly manageable for you to drive. So, there's a time restraint. There's going to be some travel involved. So pick an area that's somewhat close. There's so many, I think there's 20, I want to say there's almost 30 different divisions. Maybe it's 26 divisions. So there's pretty much a division you can fish around you. But the way it works is it's $100 for a co-angler. It's $200 for a boater. And, the sooner you can enter the tournament, the better, because there's a waiting list. And if you can find a boater that is also going to sign up for that tournament, you can link up with that boater. So you're guaranteed to fish that tournament. And there's a Facebook page. I think it's called Toyota Series and BFL Link Finder. You can get on there and you can shoot, a message on there and say, hey, I'm fishing, the Okeechobee division or whatever, such and such date, co-angler looking for a boater link. And a lot of times that boater will see it and he's looking for a co-angler link, and you guys can link up, sign up at the same time. And that way you're going to fish the tournament. If you don't have a link, sign up as soon as possible. The sooner you sign up, the further you get up or down on that, further you get up on that wait list, and the better your chances are of getting in. And typically I found if you sign up like 3 weeks out, you're going to most likely fish that tournament. Some of these tournaments I've even signed up like a week before and still got in, but you want to sign up. And if you're going to fish all 5 tournaments, they'll have 4 regular tournaments and then 1 super tournament at the end of the season. If you're going to fish them all, sign up for them, the first date that it's available, and just pay a deposit, or, pay 2 of the tournaments, just get in there as fast as you can. That way you're going to get a shot in that tournament. But, it's a great way to get that tournament feel. And the way it works is the night before the tournament, they will do a meeting. Since the COVID thing, they've been doing Zoom meetings. Prior to 2020, it was an on-site meeting where people would show up and you'd actually meet your boater or your co-angler there on site. They'd have the weigh trailer and stuff set up on that lake. And, they'd do a meeting at like 6:30. They'd get up there, then the MC would do the sponsor thing, and then he'd announce the pairings and stuff. And so now it's a Zoom meeting. They send you a link on Dropbox, you get on there, and everybody's on there. And then after the Zoom meeting is over, you'll get a text from MLFLW notifying who your partner is for the following day, and they'll have their phone number. So you just contact that person, you set up a game plan. Hey, let's meet at the marina at 5:00 in the morning. I'm in a white Vexus, and I'm driving a black Chevy truck or whatever. And you find your boater in the morning, and you go fishing. You'll go through Boat Track, and you'll have a day of it. And it's a good time. You hear horror stories about co-anglers saying, I got a real crappy boater, but I fished about 6 seasons of BFLs, and I really haven't had anybody that was a complete moron. I've had a couple guys that are hard to fish behind because they're just, their style of fishing for that day may be a little bit difficult for a guy in the back of the boat. You're going to get a guy every once in a while that's throwing a square bill or something real tight to the bank and doesn't give you much room, or you're going to get a guy that's locked in on
part of it.
Yeah, he's fishing a single stump out there, or he's power pole down fishing spawning fish, but that's rare. I mean, those are the good guys way outnumber, the difficult guys.
I would say the biggest thing as a co-angler is make sure you have good communication with whoever it is you're in the boat with. Don't be afraid to ask questions, especially before you fish. Gas money, taking care of the boat, how much tackle to bring or not to bring. Usually they'll give you an idea of what's going on, and just be really respectful of your boater. And if you are, they're going to take care of you 9 times out of 10. It's funny, we were talking about Swindle. He kind of went off on a tangent yesterday in Bass Talk Live about proper co-angler etiquette and what he likes to see. And but yeah, if you have good communication, you end up 2 buddies fishing all day, and it's you'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's you're right. Those are really good points on being a co-angler. There are things that just use your common sense. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want somebody to do to you. As far as the gas money thing, I typically at the end of the day, I'll ask my boater, what do you want for gas? And you're going to bring your own food and water. Your life vest is important. You want to bring your own life vests, bring some coal tags, and keep your tackle small. The thing that I found the best is some sort of a backpack, a tackle bag that's a backpack that you can put on your back, and it frees up your other 2 hands. And as far as rods, there's not a limit to the amount of rods you can bring in the BFLs. But honestly, the more rods you bring, the more they're in the way. And I found I always start out trying to keep it to 5, and it usually ends up working its way up to 7. But very, very rarely have I brought more than 7 rods. And you're usually only going to use about 3 or 4 of those rods. You might have an auxiliary rod that you might just pick up and make a few casts. It might be a frog rod or something, or maybe a topwater rod in the morning that you might only use for 30 minutes. But what I found is if you've got rods that will work, basically if you've got multifunctional rods, let's say a 7-foot medium heavy is a great all around rod. The more of those kind of rods you can work into your lineup, the less rods you have to bring. Something that doubles as something else is ideal for a co-angler, because it's going to be in your way. It's just going to be in your way. When you make really long runs, that stuff bounces around, and next thing you know, everything's all wrapped up. So the less rods is the better. And bring what you need too, but you're only fishing for 8 hours. It's not a good time to learn a new technique, to try to experiment and come up with some secret magic bait. I found that go out there and fish some of the things that you have confidence in, and you're going to do better. It's typically about keeping your bait in the water, just paying attention to what's going on, watch what your boater's doing. If he's, like for instance, I fished the BFL down at Kentucky Lake. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, but my boater, I talked to him the night before the tournament, and he said he was going to be throwing topwater in the morning. So I automatically tied on a jerkbait, because to me, I think the jerkbait is a great supplement for a topwater. I didn't want to have a topwater on too, because he's throwing a topwater. He's going to be getting that first cast at that aggressive fish. So think about what he's throwing, and think about how you can throw something different that may or may not catch the same fish. Give those fish that he's trying to catch a different look, or be fishing for a completely different fish. Sometimes you have to fish out deeper than he is. You have to fish out of the other side of the boat. So it's just things that you learn, and I'm still learning. I'll never quit learning. There's adjustments that, hindsight's 2020. You're like, I should have done that, or this last tournament I jumped off a couple key fish, and it's like, gosh, those fish just come back and haunt you every time, and it still happens. But you got to keep a positive mental attitude. Going back to Gerald Swindle, you got to go out there, have fun, make it there and back safe, and just think of it as a learning experience. Those guys that you draw, a lot of times they're locals, and they'll show you all different parts of the lake, and you can kind of see what to look for. And here's another thing. don't steal your boater spots. Don't have your boater, don't have your boater pull up next week on his spot, and there you are sitting there fishing.
Yeah, 1,000% agree. Yeah, those guys put a lot of time and effort into developing a spot. That's a great point, Gabe. And I didn't think about that while you were talking. That's an excellent point.
Yeah. I fished there enough times that I know a few spots, and a lot of the guys that I've drawn have fished some of those same spots. So I feel like I can go fish those spots too, because it's just, I've seen them so many times. They're basically community holes, but there are also some spots that are pretty sneaky spots, so just out of common courtesy and respect, don't go there. Don't show your friend that spot. That, a lot of those spots, you can't really tell where they're at unless you put a waypoint on them. They're just little sneaky stumps or just a little subtle point or anything, but you'll learn a lot, man. You'll learn where to run on the lake, which is super important. Where not to run on the lake. History, there's an old roadbed here. There's an old fence here. There's a barn foundation over here. You learn all that kind of stuff, and it's well worth it. So I hope if you decide to get into that, I'm sure it's worth it.
I want to change gears just a second. There was a guy up in the comment section just a minute ago was asking about Crab Orchard Lake. And I saw earlier he had messaged wanting to hear something about crab. Haven't been there a little bit myself. There should be fish in the water willow right now for what areas you can find a water willow. That's that emergent grass that crab's kind of famous for. Swimming a jig this time of year has always worked. Long neck has fish in it, I know. Also an area called Elneck. If you go to the south side of the lake, there's a dog leg that runs all the way back. That water willow on the north bank of Elneck usually has some fish in it. That old white swim jig, or sometimes just a dark swim jig, should work. Just listening to how everyone's talking about everything's kind of behind down there. I don't think there'll be, I could be wrong. There could be some fish off the bank. They usually get out there, but that'd be the first thing I would do if I was going to go to crab tomorrow, is find some water willow and cover some water with that swim jig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hellabass says the virtual tournament meetings are the greatest outcome of COVID. Agree 100%. A lot of people don't go to those meetings. They go to the first one. You got to sign your waiver, and then it's kind of 50-50 after that.
The old days were great. Every single person in there would be smoking a cigarette, and you'd come out smelling like you were in a bar all night.
Mike says, hand me gas money the first thing in the morning. Your day will be better for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just respect. That's all it is. It's just respect.
Yep. Right. Josh says he uses a little buzzbait with a small swim bait for a trailer, and it works great on small city lakes. Definitely. Here's Frank. He says he bought a membership for $79 to MLF and get started in the tournament. I thought about doing the Okeechobee one. Man, do it.
Be cool.
Do it.
Do it.
It's fun.
Do it.
It's $100 and you'll have a blast. Especially a lake like Okeechobee where there's so much grass. It's like, where the crap do I start? That'd be ideal.
And maybe catch a giant.
Yeah, maybe catch a giant. Mike says his 5 rods as a co-angler would be 5 jig rods. He'd have a 3/4 ounce jig, a 1/2 ounce jig. I don't think I've ever seen him throw a 3/8 ounce jig, but he'd have a full size jig, finesse jig. Yeah, he's a jig man.
Nothing wrong with
that. Wade says, getting on here late, what tournaments can I get in as a co-angler this year? There's a bunch of them left. If you go to MLF's website, you can look at the upcoming dates and jump on. And as far as local tournaments, there's a lot of stuff out there. Just about every week there's something going on. It'd be nice to have an actual site that has all of the local tournaments listed on it.
Minnesota has something like that, or at least they used to. Don't quote me on it, but I remember looking at that, and there was a listing of a bunch of tournaments. Yeah, that would be really handy in, well, anywhere. But yeah, we could really use that down where we're at.
Jay Beffa says, do not bring the tackle bag that my co-angler brought to recent tournaments. It took 20 minutes for the forklift to load it. I think Hellbass happened the day before.
Yeah.
Man, I've heard some co-angler stories that are crazy.
That's where you got to talk to if you're the co-angler, you got to talk to your guy and ask specific questions that night before, and how much you want me to bring or not bring, blah blah blah. Just communication.
Yeah.
And sometimes they probably still show up with the wrong stuff. But.
Well, yeah, I mean, get an idea of what you're going to be doing. If you're going to be kind of fishing deep, shallow, or a little bit of both, and then you don't need that much tackle. I mean, if you're throwing topwater, a spook or two, a chugger or two, and a buzzbait or something, just a cut white, black, just a couple of colors of each thing. And you don't typically lose those baits. So you don't need just a whole bag of topwaters. You're probably not going to have time to fish to change. And, your topwater bites typically, let's just say it's a shad spawn in the morning. You got an hour window probably. You're not going to have time to go through 17 different topwater baits. It's just not going to happen. So pick 2 or 3 of your most confident baits and, let them ride, man. Put them out there and see what happens. And a lot of times, here's another thing, Ron. If you really get on a solid bite, and this has happened to me a couple times, most boaters will give you one of their.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, I would imagine.
I've had that happen several times, especially after they've got a decent limit. They'll definitely have no problem.
Weren't you telling me about on a scrounger head, one guy was catching them and then he gave you one or something like that?
Yeah. So this was in a Costa series. I won a BFL on Kentucky Lake, and there was a Costa. This is Costa was a Toyota series prior, and I decided to reinvest and jump in that Costa. So I had a really tough first day. My boater was fishing for, and this is, you'll get a boater like this sometimes. That's, and we've all been there. He was still looking for bedding fish, and they were gone. Okay. So we had a tough day that day, but it's a 2-day tournament. So the second day I drew Jeff Archie, who lives in Paris, and Jeff was good buddies with Brent Anderson, who was a guide on the southern end of Kentucky Lake. He's since moved to another part of the country, and he's guiding down there. Jeff got his offshore graphing knowledge from Ben Parker. The Ben Parker Magnum spoon, that big old huge spoon. He was good friends. Jeff's uncle was good friends with Parker, so he kind of mentored him on how to read electronics. So he learned from one of the best down there, and I learned a ton that day. But we were idling. He caught about 8 or 9 pounds the day before the first day of the tournament, flipping bushes. And this was in probably, I want to say it was early May. They weren't supposed to, they weren't supposed to be out there yet. And they hadn't been out there. Back then the fish really moved out hard on the ledges. This is before the Asian carp really got bad there and ran the fish off the ledges. But there was still that movement out there on those main river ledges out of the creeks and stuff. They'd follow the secondary creek channels out there, and they'd end up on the ledge. So everybody's always looking for that, but it usually doesn't happen until like the last part of May, depending on how far the spawn is. So he'd been checking that. Those guys that live down there, they check it almost every day, and it wasn't there before the tournament. So he decided he was going to flip bushes. So he'd only caught like 8 or 9 pounds. And when I jumped in the boat with him that day, he's like, we're going looking. We're going idling. And I'm like, okay. So, right, I've been idling before, but I didn't realize what he actually meant. We literally idled. We probably idled for 5 or 6 hours and fished 3 hours. Okay. And there was periods where we would idle for, 30, 45 minutes and not even wet a bait. And then we'd stand up and make 4 or 5 casts, 6 casts, which is it's a tough day. You know, you're wanting to settle in, get a feel for what's going on. But he told me, he said, I know this is weird, but trust me, when I find what we're looking for, it's going to get right. It'll be right. It'll be good. So he's like, you just got to trust me, which I did. I didn't have a choice, right? So we pull in this creek. And this is after, we've been jumping around forever and ever and ever for 5 hours or so. We pull in this creek, and there's 2 little humps out in the middle of this bay. And he idles by, and he shuts the motor off. And he's like, there they are. And that's the first time that had happened all day long after 5 hours. I'm like, oh, okay, something just happened, you know. And he managed to just, it was nuts. This was probably I think this was my first experience with like knockdown, drag out ledge fishing, like when they were up on a drop and it was just stupid silly. I got the party started with Carolina rig. I jumped off about a 4.5 pounder, and he said, you know, that's either going to hurt us or it's going to help us. It either spook the fish or it'll turn them on. Well, it turned them on. He was throwing that scrounger, that 3/4 ounce scrounger head with a jerky J. He caught, did he catch? I think he caught like 14 keepers before I even got one more fish. They were so tuned in on that jerky J, they wouldn't touch anything but that. Now they were suspended a little bit up off the bottom, and he was cranking it, you know, throwing a 3/4 ounce with that 5-inch jerky J, and he was just moving it. And finally, I guess he felt sorry for me or whatever. He goes, reach in that back compartment back there and grab me that box that says jig heads. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, thank you, because they wouldn't hit anything. I threw a swim bait. I threw all the stuff that they should have hit, but they just didn't want. They wanted that action. So I gave him that, you know, that box of jig heads, and he rigged up a jerky J on there. And within like 15 casts, I had my 5 keepers.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's so cool.
And, yeah. So back to the original story, in that situation, I didn't have a jerky J. I didn't have a scrounger head, but he gave me one. He rigged it up, tied it on, and we both had a great.
Well, you earned it. You sat there for 5 hours and were patient, and
yeah,
you know, and you respected what he wanted to do, and then when the time came, he took care of you. So that's cool. Very cool story.
Yeah, it was a fun. I learned a ton that day. That's what makes tournament fishing as a co-angler worth it, is you do get that boater every once in a while where you learn a ton of stuff. Yeah, Mike says keep it simple as a co-angler. Don't get into your boater's head by complaining. Very good, Mike Russell.
Yeah,
it's so true. That is so true. Just be part of the day. Sit back there, learn. It's a lot of fun. Don't expect.
And I think what you said there is, if you're fishing as a co-angler, a big part of why you're doing it has to be because you're wanting to learn, either, you know, the lakes or whatever, you know, so if you're learning, it's worthwhile.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you can't, it's hard to, I'm not gonna say it's hard to get a check, but you can't expect to win tournament. You know, that's fishing in general. You know, the most successful angler in the whole world, I guess, is still KVD. I'm not sure, but he's winning less than, like, it's probably down to like 9% of the tournaments now, but that's not good odds. So I always
think you're in the back of the boat,
right? And it can be difficult. You know, the best thing you can hope for as a co-angler is you draw a guy that's cool. He's a good dude. You know, you got good chemistry, you got good vibe. And secondly, that he's around fish. And if he's around fish and you keep your bait wet and keep your head down, there's going to be an opportunity in that day to catch a fish or two. You know, if you're paying attention, even if you're behind a guy that is a like pitcher, you know, he's going down, he's pitching real tight to the bank, flipping bushes and flipping laydowns and stuff, which is one of the toughest guys to fish behind. There will still be an opportunity to catch fish sometime during that day if you're paying attention for that opportunity. Yeah, this is a good point from Dave. As you progress as an angler and gain confidence in yourself, the need to bring the forklift tackle bag goes away. That's so true. So true.
Yeah, I fished with when I was in a bass club years ago, and I fished with a guy. I drew a guy. He was getting in my boat by the name of Tom Spiller. And anyone who's fished tournaments in Southern Illinois for years knows who Tom Spiller is. He basically won everything there is to win in Southern Illinois. As a matter of fact, when he retired from tournament fishing, he took his boat out to Crab Orchard Lake, screwed all of his trophies into the floor of his boat, and sunk his boat in Crab Orchard. That was his adieu to the tournament fishing. Yeah, Tom Spiller. And believe me, there's a lot of trophies in that boat. And there's a lot of my money that he took that are represented in those trophies in that boat. But when I drew him in this club tournament, I met him at the parking lot, and he had a Folgers can, literally a Folgers can, had a couple little baits in it, mostly just some worms and some hooks, and we went fishing. And so, you know, what that guy said is 100% correct. Is, you know, you don't need a lot of tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. Frank says, if I sign up for the Okeechobee, pay my entry fee, will I get notified? Do I get notified from the boater before? You'll get a notification from MLFLW that you are entered in the tournament. They'll tell you that you're on the waiting list or you've been confirmed for the tournament. You'll get either one of those emails. So if you're on the waiting list, whenever enough boaters sign up to guarantee that you're in the tournament, you'll get that email saying that you are confirmed for the tournament. And you won't find out who your boater is until the night before the tournament. After that pre-tournament meeting happens, they'll send out a mass text and you'll get your boater link. And that is when that's when you'll know who your boater is. So it's computer generated. You know, they just randomly put it in the computer, and then you go, then you call, you get everything lined out. It's pretty straightforward. Once you do it a couple times, it gets easier. And if you do sign up for that and you have any questions, man, don't hesitate to shoot me a message. Gabe Montgomery on Facebook or 10 Horse Monty 6. And if you got any kind of questions, dude, I'd be glad to help you out, because I've been doing it for a while. And I remember the first year or so, it was just different. You know, you just didn't know where to meet your boater, what do you need, that kind of stuff. But after you do it for a while, it's piece of cake, man. It's no big deal. Andy was talking about the Megabass Hazdong Shad 4.2 Ghost Color. I don't have any of the bigger ones. I got some of the smaller ones, and that thing's awesome on a drop shot. I think I've got they're small. They're like a 2.5 or something, but they're just a little baby swim bait. I was kind of playing around with those a couple of years ago on those schooling fish over there at Cedar. You know, they get in that bluff area, those bluffs. But I was putting a drop shot in that little baby swim bait. I would throw it out after they went down, you know, catch them on top. If they go down, you just throw that drop shot out, close your bell, and just let that drop shot just swing down through those shadows with that little bitty swim bait on there. And I caught some fish doing it. I mean, I didn't load the boat, but I did catch enough fish to feel like, wow, I kind of learned a new way of catching those fish. Mike's got a really good point. Do not stab with the net as a co-angler. There are proper ways to net fish.
Yeah, hold the hoop of the net with your other hand while you're waiting to net the fish. Don't have the hoop of the net in the water while you're waiting, because that'll inevitably get tangled up in the guy's treble hook and then when he'll tell you when the angler will tell you when to net the fish.
Yeah, ideally, if he's got that fish up on top of the water and he's skiing it in, just lay that net down in the water and just let him just pull it right into the net. That's the best case scenario. But yeah, stabbing, you can knock a fish off, and it can, I don't know. It is what it is, but there are definitely ways to do it and ways not to do it. Yeah, and like Mike says, being a good co-angler is a great way to build solid relationships. I keep all my boaters' phone numbers, and I've made a lot of really good friends over the years. And as you fish a division more and more, you run into a lot of the same people. So you make friends. You end up hanging out, before the tournament, after the tournament, and it's cool, man. It's like I said, I've got a lot of friends that I've met through the BFLs. Let's see here.
Oh, did Jay lose a fish?
I didn't see that.
Thanks, Ron. I turned the advice up for my wife to hear.
I don't know. I didn't know about that one.
There's a story there.
That's funny. I'll find out, man. He'll shoot me a text after the show, or he may leave it on here. Mike says he hit a couple of Pyramid Lakes today. Nothing to brag about, but caught some, mostly on the swim jig with the White Menace. The carp on Green Wing were ridiculous. I noticed that the carp are starting to come in and spawn. Last week over at Cedar, I saw. In fact, the video I dropped.
Are they up rolling and all that stuff?
Yeah, they're doing that. They're jumping out of the water and carrying on, doing all that stuff.
That's a good sign of where things are too. We used to, on Crab Orchard, we used to look for that and we'd fish behind them. And when the carp would be up on the bank, they'll chase the bluegill and whatever out of there. And the bass would sit behind them, and you could, a lot of times that was a good pattern. We'd catch fish behind the carp.
I've heard that. I've heard people look for those carp. So why do you think that is exactly?
Just opportunistic. Mm-hmm. If those, a lot of times those bluegill are going shallow the same time those carp are going up there, and those carp obviously win. And you know how many carp are on crab? I mean, there's too many.
Right.
So I think they just chase whatever's in the area out, and those bass, if they're in that water willow, a lot of times on crab, they'll be sitting out there on that inside edge, and more than one time we caught them that way. Good fish, lots of them.
Yeah, Todd, he says, good evening. How does a person get into co-angling? If you didn't catch all that, we talked about it in pretty detailed, in great detail and length. So go back and listen to the playback. But Bass Club, and then you can get on the Major League Fishing.
Go from there. And
then Frank says, keep
listening to the 10 Horse Monty.
That's right. Yeah. I got a lot of co-angling videos on there. I'll be doing a few more coming up. Got a few more tournaments left in the year, but I've got a lot of video out there. The archive is deep with BFL type stuff. Frankie, do I have to be at the meeting? The only thing you have to do on your first tournament is you'll have to sign a waiver, like an insurance waiver, and you can do that in the morning. They'll do live well check an hour before. Once you find your boater and stuff, you get that all taken care of. You can go to the weigh-in trailer there, and you just sign it's an insurance waiver. It's just a signature, and I think your age, and that's it. It's straightforward. But as far as being at the meeting, no, you don't have to. I would definitely recommend jumping on the live stream meeting several times until you get a hang of what the rules are, and read the rules. There's things like Alabama rig, how many hooks can you have, depending on the state. And most things are pretty straightforward, but there are a few rules that you need to know getting into tournament fishing. She threw in 3 rods, he says.
I was reading that.
Holy crap. And I imagine they weren't Zebco 33s either.
Well, that happens. Unfortunately.
I'll hit you up on Facebook, dude. Okay, cool. It looks like we covered everything, Ron.
Yeah.
Been on here for a little while. It's awesome seeing you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, great seeing you. And if we end up doing this next week, I can't wait to give a real fishing report for Mille instead of a scanning and scouting report. But there's gonna be a lot of fish caught this weekend in Minnesota. Ice has been out forever. I say forever, probably I don't know the exact date, but we got to be 5 or 6 weeks past ice out up here. And on the smaller lakes, a lot longer than that. And the fish are shallow. A lot of them are anyway. Water temperature is pushing 60. It's probably 60 in a lot of the other lakes. It's going to be a throwdown this weekend. It's going to be a hoot.
Do you have a muskie rod up there?
No, I do not.
Does
I
Jason
have rods that have caught muskie, but I don't have a muskie rod.
Man, for some reason, I'm thinking I want to have a muskie rod in your boat just in case I see one. I just want to tangle with
Well,
them.
you're gonna see them.
I don't want to catch one on Ned rig though.
Yeah, that's a whole nother deal. You see them right now swimming around the shallows, and they just swim by you. They don't even care that you're there. I am not a muskie fisherman. I don't know anything about it other than that there's really big ones here.
Yeah.
And when I say really big, there's world record class muskie in this lake. And they have tagged a world record muskie in this lake. So 50, I'm talking 50, 60 pounders.
Jesus.
Yeah, you'll see 20 pounders all the time right now. It's that time of year. And but yeah, bring what you want, buddy. You want to mess with them, you're more than welcome to.
I'll bring the forklift tackle bag with me. No, I'm not going to, dude. I'll bring the same thing I bring as a co-angler, man.
It's just you and me, so there'll be plenty of room.
Yeah,
bring whatever you want. It doesn't matter. We're just going to have a good time. And what'll be fun is going to the local tackle stores. And I know how when you travel across different parts of the country and you go to tackle shops, you kind of see the local flavor in tackle.
Yeah, right.
And so there's a local flavor on the bass side of things up here, just like everywhere else. But what's interesting is seeing all the other species stuff that's here, because bass is not number one. Walleye is number one here. And so there's just as many pegs of walleye stuff and northern stuff and all the giant musky baits and appropriate tackle that goes with that. It's kind of fun. And so we'll definitely hit a couple of local tackle shops and it'll be, I'm really looking forward to you being here. It's going to be a great time and catch a few.
It's 11 hours, just a little bit over 11 hours. I was thinking 12, so 11 sounds a whole lot better for me for some reason. Doesn't sound quite so long. And I think what I'm going to do is, I was talking to Rich last night from Hellabass, and I think right now the tentative plan is to leave on that Tuesday, leave here real early in the morning, try to get up there at Rich's place around noon or 1.
Okay.
And he's gonna take me fishing. We're gonna shoot some video content, and then I'm gonna leave from there and still try to get up there to Garrison by a decent time, 10 o'clock or so, something like that. So that's kind of the tentative plan right now. Because I definitely wanted to see Rich since I'm going right by his house, and then on the way back I'm gonna try to visit with Debo from Debo's Fishing. Hopefully I'll have enough time to do that, but that's kind of a loose plan. So I'm thinking Tuesday evening I'll be up there, get settled in, and Wednesday we'll go get after it.
Yeah, and the daylight up here, it's every day. Of course, we're gaining hours everywhere up here, but it's 9 o'clock, 9:15 before it starts to get dark, and it's going to be even later now when you're here. So we'll be able to wear ourselves out there and get some sleep and do it again the next day. So just get here safe. That's the main thing. It's a long drive. It just is what it is, but you're not hauling a boat, so it won't be too bad.
How are the mosquitoes right now?
Not bad. It's dry up here. We need rain.
Okay.
The lake, I think, is a touch low. They say it's not, but I think it's a touch low. One of the local boat ramps, I was not able to get my boat off the trailer. A lot of these boat ramps are really shallow. One of my, which I've launched at 1,000 times, I could not get it off the trail. If anyone's from Minnesota is listening here, be wary of the Cedar Creek ramp. It is really shallow this year. And I ground my prop at the North Miramar access, which I've never done before while loading up. So just be advised if anyone on here is listening that's coming up the Mille. It is, I think, a little low. Once you get on the lake, it doesn't matter, but it's just more just at the access. Today I put in at the Thames River, and on the Thames River you could see it looked like there was about 6 inches of where the water line was. So no, we could use some rain up here. So anyway, answer your question. It's been dry. Mosquitoes aren't bad.
Good, man, because that's one thing I dreaded up there. I know we went to Canada one time. The mosquitoes were absolutely nuts.
Yeah, no, you won't. So big. Once we get offshore, or even when we're fishing closer to shore, this isn't a buggy lake, so to speak. Not that we won't see bugs, or we will, but it's not. Now here at the house in the evening, we might have more mosquitoes and stuff, but out on the lake, it's really not. It's not bad. It really isn't.
Hey, Frankie, hit me up on Facebook. I just looked up that name, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 people on there. So if you want to get in contact with me, Gabe Montgomery, get on Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or Gabe Montgomery on Facebook, or 10 Horse Monty 6, and we can chat, man, about the BFL. So
yeah, he can, if he wants, he can send a request to me too if he wants. So
sure,
I'll put it on there.
Love to answer any questions you got. So
last name's Darosa.
Darosa, RD Outdoors, aka the guy that's going to put me on a big old smallie. I've got a 4.5 up there. You can't see it, but I'm hoping that's going to fall.
I'm not going to say a whole lot, but I'm not too worried about it.
You're not too worried about it. Man, I love that. It makes you feel good.
Strange things have happened. I've been fishing long enough in this lifetime to know strange things happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried about it.
We got 5 days to make it happen. So
exactly. There's gonna be a window in that 5 days that you'll remember for a long time, I hope.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right, man. We're going to wrap this up. I really appreciate you being on here and everybody else being on here. It's been great. Great.
Yeah, appreciate everybody. Great job, Gabe.
Jim Dill was awesome, and you guys have all asked great questions. So we will I'll be doing a live stream Monday, most likely. As far as the guest, I'm still kind of lining that up. I've got a couple people that I'm trying to narrow it down to see who's going to be available. But we'll try to do one Monday, and then me and Ron will try to get back on here next Thursday, and then it'll probably be, we'll probably just be doing a Thursday nighter up there at Mille, hopefully. So
yeah, hey, this next Thursday, one of the things I thought about, I wouldn't mind doing sometime, and it's not a secret bait anymore, but I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of a deep dive one of these times into the Ned rig.
Let's do it.
And it's a bait that plays well in a lot of places. It's not just a Minnesota Mille bait. I mean, I've caught fish on Lake of Egypt, and there's a million places that it works. So
yeah, definitely. So yeah, next Thursday we'll do a deep dive into Ned rig, maybe throw in some other finesse tactics and stuff. But
okay,
good call. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, because that's going to be my life for the next while. So yeah, I'll enjoy that.
Cool.
All right,
man. Send me some pictures Saturday.
Yep, we'll do, bud. If you don't get any pictures, I drowned or I fell in or the boat didn't start.
Yeah, I'll send out the National Guard or the Army.
Yeah,
or runs around.
Yeah, call Jason.
Yeah, Jay, I'm gonna be getting some pictures. I already know. I'll be working. It'll be a tough, long day, and here comes all these pictures, these big old smallies. So, all right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, later.
See ya.